Welcome to the Improve Work podcast. I'm your host, Daniela Tancău, an HR consultant helping entrepreneurs and team leaders build motivated, high-performing teams. Here we talk about leadership, employee motivation, and other topics that enhance your ability to lead. Whether you are an entrepreneur with a team, a business owner planning to build one, or a leader in a company. You'll gain practical advice and insights from me and my guests, experts in the field and entrepreneurs who share their leadership experiences. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to stay updated on every episode. Let's dive into today's topic. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Improve Work podcast. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for being here today, whether you are listening on the go or watching this episode. I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in. This episode is about the different factors that influence how a team leader leads and about the challenges that can arise when these factors' requirements are in conflict. My guest is Dr. Sam Jennings II, the owner of the 360 Clarity Company. He helps organizations by designing and delivering custom leadership development programs. He also provides coaching for leaders, and his expertise extends to change management, crisis response, and diversity, equity, and inclusion training. His PhD dissertation focused on leadership and organizational development, on job satisfaction, burnout, and employee turnover. And before opening his practice, Sam served as Dean of Students, overseeing up to 50 departments. He also served as a member of the board of examiners from the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, where he helped assess business practices to help them become more effective and efficient. Let's dive in and take a closer look at the factors that influence how a team leader acts and behaves and how this may create challenges. Welcome to the podcast, Sam. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks so much. It's nice to be here.
We'll discuss about team leadership today and about the different factors that influence how a person leads. And I know that you work in this area, and that's why I wanted to explore this topic with you. And my first question, and I think my listener question is, what factors do you think that influence how a person leads?
So the factors that influence how a person leads is the same across the board mostly, and that is what the leader has experienced from other leaders in terms of what they like and what they don't. I think it's 85% of people in leadership positions have no formal training, so it's all experiential. So all those bits and pieces have popped in their heads over time. That is how they lead, and it's not a bad thing. It's just they don't know a different way, so they only go with what they've seen.
But probably most of them get mentorship maybe from other colleagues from the same company.
That would be wonderful.
Ah,
I'm
so
not sure
you don't agree that this is a widespread practice?
I think that there are good relationships, but at least in the States, as far as formal, sustained mentorships, I'm not sure those exist quite the same way. I think people do a lot of figuring it out as they go. And if they're lucky, they have a good supervisor who helps them. But I'm not sure there's a consistent, tightly woven mentorship program, if you will.
Yes, I agree with you that many positions, these kinds of positions, are given without the proper training, and the person stand in that role and has many challenges because doesn't know how to handle different things, how to work with people, how to understand people, and how to
Right.
manage the relationships, the task, and other things that we'll uncover in this discussion.
Right. Yeah, my favorite example of that is people who do a great job with coding, working with computers. They're fabulous, they're wonderful, and they're good people. And so the boss says, "You deserve a promotion. Why don't you lead the team?" Well, those skill sets aren't even close necessarily. So just saying you're good at job A doesn't mean you can supervise that same job. It's a whole different skill set that's rarely trained for.
Okay, so they come in, most of the people get these roles without training, But what influence how they lead when they have this role?
What influences it? Um, Early on, it's expectations. What's the
Mm-hmm.
the black and white job description? What's the boss want? How
Mm-hmm.
do I make sure I do my part here? And as they go along, they start to understand that all those things are important, and also they get to decide how they do it, which takes some time to get there. But once they figure out they've got a little bit of room to play, it's like, oh well, I can still get what I need without being mean, or I can more easily get what I need if I lay out expectations clearly, not micromanage, but don't be so aloof that people are just everywhere and lost. We get some good clear direction, and you don't have to be, down their necks over every little detail. So the way people get there is through experience a lot of time, and usually they learn and develop as they go. Some folks are harder to transition to different kinds of behaviors, but folks who want to learn will get there. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you think that their personality, their experience, and their personal character has a big impact on how they lead, at least at the beginning when they are not experienced.
Absolutely. And that character comes through. I had a colleague tell me that when things really get out of control, that's when you see people's character come out. And sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not. But it's that default setting where they don't have time to think through every single phrasing or detail. So a little bit more hurt or abrupt. And it's not necessarily terrible. So when those things show up, a leader has a chance to reflect and think, okay, did I handle that well? What did I like about it? What I didn't like? And also report back to your own team to say, in this moment, I was more direct than usual, and it was necessary because, whichever reasons, it's not how I operate, but in that moment, it was necessary. Let's go back to normal behaviors. And the context and circumstances will help a leader develop, and sometimes negative feedback. If the
Mhm.
feedback they don't like on a evaluation or a 360 evaluation, you might say, whoa, I didn't know people saw me that way. I need to change my approach a little bit.
Mhm. So you encourage companies to practice feedback, so those who are led by a person to give feedback.
Absolutely. Yes. Give feedback as much as possible, which being overwhelming. An annual review, I'm going to say something that's not terribly nice to our HR friends, but it's
Mhm.
a box to be checked. It's just, there should be nothing in the annual review that is a surprise or new or any way out of the blue, because there
Mhm.
should be enough contact and one-on-ones over the course of the year where you're having those accountability conversations, the celebrations, the goal check-in, all those things should be existing. And then eval just kind of a little bit of icing on the cake. However, the conversations in the middle, which is an evaluation, as well as a 360, where you can get it from all angles. And if you can appreciate the value of that data, the impact can be massive on a leader to know how they're being perceived, the folks above, here, and below them. Because in this world of leadership, perception is a big piece of it, not just your skill set, but how do you actually come across getting it done?
Mhm. But how can leaders, after they receive that feedback, can improve how they work with people and how they improve their relationships? Could they do this by themselves, by self-studying, or what action should they take so they improve their skills?
Mhm.
Because just hearing that I'm not good at something doesn't necessarily help me to become good at that thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Just telling somebody they're poor at it and they magically get better. I wish it was that easy, right? But I think there is an appropriate amount of time. I don't have a specific number, but when somebody has been doing the job and you get feedback that's not going well, you can be upset. It's okay to
Of
be
course.
angry or frustrated, or even for a briefest moment say, what are these people thinking? And then roll it back and say, okay, wait, what's all the data say? What's the plan here? So then moving forward, some can self-study, but one of the phrases I like to use is you can't read the label if you're inside the box, which means you could maybe change behavior, but you don't know precisely what other people are seeing. You just know what they ranked you on a scale. So you would need to ask folks for their feedback, and also, to the degree possible, get somebody from outside to help. And that looks like maybe there's um, a mentorship program or a service within the business or institution you're working at. And of course, I work as a third party coach. I advocate for it, not because it's just for me, but because having somebody outside your whole ecosystem talk to you about your
Mhm.
leadership skills, how things land with people. I'm not going to be signing their evaluation. I don't sign a paycheck. I'm sure not going to be across from at Thanksgiving dinner. So it's a good outside perspective to get to see how to approach people and to give an idea of how their approach may be affecting other folks and to iteratively make changes over time. So
Mhm.
yeah, self-study is good and important and getting help. Nothing wrong with that. And you don't have to be bad to get better. So even if it's just not great, yeah, a little assistance and let's get improved.
Yes, you can improve whatever level you are right now. And
Absolutely, yes.
what you recommend most because I am fully aware that coaching or mentorship it's very effective because you work one to one.
Mhm.
And training can be more broadly, and it helps, of course, but maybe doesn't look at particular situations that a leader face, and can't cover what that leader needs to learn.
Absolutely. Right. And training is great, right? And it's episodic. You go through a
Mhm.
training and the struggle with trainings is you go to a time and place and have content, and then when it's done, the feeling is training is done. Even with a great facilitator, where they give you a plan that you can make on your own, how to work ahead, even if you do it in that moment, the odds of that plan coming back to life once you get back to your day job, very,
Mhm.
very low. Not because it's not important, but because everything else is on fire, right? But if you've
Mhm.
got a meeting with a coach or a mentor consistently, you're going to keep reviewing those goals week after week to ensure that they don't fall off the radar. Because the KPIs you're chasing are important. And also, if you have relationships with your people who are helping you get those KPIs done, the key performance indicators or other measures, um, then the improvements will only be marginal. If you're helping your people get better and you're helping that relationship, the improvements are going to come much more quickly and more sustainably.
Yes, and the coach or a mentor has more data about your situation, about your context, than when you are in a training. There, as I said, is a more broader approach,
Absolutely.
but it's
Yes.
helpful that also.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not suggesting for a minute we don't do training. I'm saying training plus. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So I know that you talk about the company culture a lot, and I want to
Yeah.
ask you how the culture of a company can influence how a team leader leads.
Mhm.
And when the culture influence how the leader leads, when it's a strong culture, when it's not so obvious or it's not so powerful, when culture has a big impact on leadership, and when it doesn't have big influence.
Mhm. I like that question a lot because A, it's complex, and B, it introduces the idea that leaders, and this is leaders, in my opinion, at all levels, are playing by the rules of the company that they're in. So, for example, if a company says you'll send out expectations is you send out a newsletter to your team every week, and you decide it's every month because, well, I see these people, and they would just ask me if they had questions. Right? We're in good touch. The expectation is you do the newsletter because we as a company communicate more, we over communicate, and that's our kind of our ethos, how we want to be in our existence. And not doing it is against that. So to flip it around though, if the company is more about more profits, no matter what the cost, and your position is, well, yes, but we can't treat our people like robots. We have to give them some room to be human, to learn their craft better. If bosses are saying, no, don't care about that, just make them do faster, there's some misalignment. So there's going to be a range of tolerance where a leader can say, I can wiggle here, I can be okay, and I can adjust what I'm doing. But once you get outside that tolerance space, that's where burnout starts to show up. If they have to adjust how they behave at work dramatically different from how they are as a human, it's exhausting and they can't possibly sustain that. So over time, it will affect them and they will end up burning out. And also, I hate the phrase that they've made popular, but quiet quitting. Yeah, it's doing the bare minimums, right?
Hmm.
My goal here, not get fired. Right? And when people start doing that or start being quiet in meetings, it's a great example of things are going wrong.
Hmm. So these different expectations from yourself and from the company can create tensions and this stress and exhaustion that you mentioned. And you say that this leads to disengagement.
Mhm.
Hmm. So you think that leaders give up in on their expectations and follow the company's expectations, but without necessarily agreeing with those things.
Yes, with a caveat that any leader in any position can have their own ethics, their own view of the world, or how they want to behave as a leader. And
Mhm.
also, everybody must stay under the umbrella of legal stuff.
Yes.
So if a company is asking you to make financial reports or do other things that are highly illegal, just not a good idea, but just wrong, right? We're going to get in jail
Hmm.
for this. And,
Hmm.
and not that part. But there are some spaces where you don't want to do the thing, but you're like, well, yeah, and I'm the only one here who seems to be upset about this, so I guess I'll figure it out. But even that can be it once it adds up to too many iterations of this isn't working for me, then the burnout can still show up and disengagement.
Hmm. But they are influential people, members of the company, and can't they speak about their concerns about how they view things and maybe change their uh, direct manager perspective and expectations? Can they
Mhm.
can't they do this? I think they can in some
I agree they can.
companies.
Yes, thank you. For some companies, if the company is genuinely interested in having sustainable success, then yes, all those bits should be able to be heard. Um, and if the company is essentially run by a massive board of directors who only wants to know what the quarterly earnings are and doesn't care anything about the people, for example, the company has a massively high turnover rate, or maybe their injuries are high, and they're like, well, whatever. I mean, we'll just pay workers' comp and be done with it. Um, it's going to be hard to be a leader in that space and change that culture. But there's any room at all to make the adjustments. Yes, of course, try. Um, and no one person can be the savior for all of it. So if it
Mhm.
is well beyond your capacity, it's okay to find a space that is better for you to fit. And I'm not saying quit and run necessarily, but it's once the current situation becomes untenable, it's okay to look elsewhere and just understand that sometimes the job itself may be good, so the people may be good, and you just may not be a good fit overall. That's okay. But
Mm.
like to your question, influencing up the chain is possible and should be uh, leaders should spend effort in trying to make
Mhm.
that happen. And that's part of the burnout, part of the exhaustion, but doing nothing is not a great option either. So trying to make those influences is good and important and may not be the answer, the
Mhm.
ultimate answer.
Mhm. Did you saw cases in which these kinds of initiatives had succeeded? They have positive results when team leaders tried to change perspectives or some ways of doing things in companies and they succeeded?
Mhm. I had one on a small scale. I had a staff, the direct reported to me, and we were continuously, let me back up. I worked at a university and I had worked there for 6 years, I think. I got a new job in a new area. And so I worked in the same construct, not with people that I knew before. And the whole university was looking for increasing the diversity of the staff members. And I spent a year laying the groundwork to start that. And then the next hiring cycle, I was able to diversify my staff and then did it again the next hiring cycle. And I increased longevity of the staff. And I just thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. Pretty soon, other folks from the university are like, how are you doing that? How, you create a whole new diverse team. You're keeping them longer. What are you doing different? It's and being intentional and specifically focused on intercultural competence, how we treat each other, and it's working not just to improve how we're doing our job, but to bring in folks who maybe wouldn't have looked at us before, and it's working out. So that helped give an example of the thing we'd talked about for years coming into life and coming into action. So I was able to influence some culture, but I don't want to suggest for a minute that it went the
Hmm.
chain and university was magically diverse after that, but it was a good example of being able to be in a position to affect change and doing it. And it was fun, frankly.
But you are an expert, you know how to do this. What about those who don't have any knowledge in this area?
Well, I am for hire. No, I'm teasing. Um, so if you don't have knowledge, that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that because not everybody can know everything about everything.
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
not possible. And when a leader decides they want to affect change, the probably most important thing is not what they want to change, but why. What's the
Hmm.
purpose of this at all? And let's go with the diversity one just as an example. If somebody says that we need to increase diversity of our team, oftentimes the first thing they do is say, where do we need to recruit from? Well, that's fine. And what has happened so far? Nobody's been attracted to working here who we would consider otherwise diverse. So what can we do to make sure that we're prepared to bring somebody on who is um, maybe phenotypically different, maybe experientially different than those of us who are in the room to help them succeed before they even
Hmm.
get before we know who they are. So
Hmm.
if there's a annually everybody says communication here is terrible. I hate communication. Communication is awful. Okay, well, a leader could say, let's improve communication and just decide. I will argue the better answer is what about the communication is terrible?
Of
Is it
course.
the media? Is it the quantity? Is it the quality? What is it? And then start to focus in on how to make a couple adjustments to improve that versus scrap everything and start over or blame the recipients for the message or whatever it is. Figure out the actual problem and then move forward from there. And I would argue almost any leader in any position can do that kind of thing. They need to be able to step back though and separate themselves from it. Because if it's a area of the work that they're providing or responsible for, it can feel personal, and it's not. So somebody's going to be in your job after you're done. What can you do to make this as good as possible for the people who are here now, and then move on? It's not about you; it's about making the system better.
Hmm. But also, in team leadership positions are also the founders, the entrepreneurs of those companies in many cases. And I think
Right.
in those cases are easier to bring on these kinds of situations and issues and
Mhm.
influence them. Influence, I say influence, show them why things are not good, what are the
Right.
limits of how they acting right now, and how can they improve things.
Mhm. I would say yes, and some of our entrepreneurial friends who've been massively successful have oftentimes done so by not following people's advice. They
Mhm. Mhm.
kind of forge their own path and they go and they've been great. So when they get to a certain level and the skill set is necessary to continue that success is different than the skill set that they've demonstrated, trying to convince them that this is going to get harder, it's a very tough hill
Mhm.
to climb because they've heard that since they started the company. It's going to get harder, it's going to get harder. And for them, it never does, or it didn't, and they solved it. I can do this too. So they're not always necessarily open to receiving that information.
Mhm. Mhm.
However, if they get people around them, maybe they can get other folks who can hear the message and or deliver it in a way that makes sense for that entrepreneur. But I do believe that, to your point, that folks who have closer to the top of the chain of command do have a chance to influence things more quickly,
Mhm.
not necessarily more effectively, but definitely quickly. The effectiveness depends fully on the execution.
Mhm. How important do you think is for a team leader the negotiation skills? Because we are talking about these challenges of a team leader, and I think that this skill could help in some cases. How can they
Absolutely.
develop this skill,
Mhm.
and how much this skill can help them?
Mhm. Negotiation is highly important. And whatever the audience may be envisioning right now, we're not talking about hostage negotiations. We're talking about getting to a good answer and not strictly give and take, but rather a different point of view. So, for example, I like to call it the third thing. So, let's say you and I are going to argue over what product to launch or what marketing campaign to choose. If we're going to argue at each other, it's going to get personal. But if we pull aside that thing, the campaign, product, whatever, and say, let's argue about that. How do we get that to be successful? Is that the right answer? It gets much easier than being antagonistic to each other. So the negotiation becomes less about give and take for each other and more
Mhm.
give and take through the concept and through the idea. And when people develop that skill, they can do two to three things pretty quickly. Thing one is realize it's not about them. And if it is, that's a problem. Two, it's for the greater good. How does this help the company or the unit or the organization, whatever it is? How does this serve us in a big picture way? And the third thing is the personal, which is this other person's coming in a situation. I don't know what they're thinking. I know who they are. So what I know about them in terms of what do they value, what do they want, what have they shown is important to them, and I'm not suggesting you use that against them, but use that as a common ground. So if you know that they mostly see things through a customer service lens, then that's how you frame the discussion. How to improve customer service by X, Y, Z, and add the things you want in to ensure that you get to a product you're proud of or an outcome or a project in the name of serving our customers better. It's not manipulation. It really is negotiation to say, we're really shooting for the same things here. Let's just make sure that we understand how we're going to get to where we want to go.
Mhm. And I retain an important thing about this, the fact that the company needs to create space for people to confront different ideas, to discuss opposite things. So
Right.
to argue, but in a nice way, of course, in a not in to escalate into conflicts or
Right.
uh, disputes. And yes, I think this is very important to have a culture that is open to this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was on a team that I was not in charge of, and we had debates all the time. And it was sometimes it got heated, and every time we got done, it was, well, we have our answer. We're in good shape. And we would break the meeting and go to lunch. I mean, it was just part of doing business, but it was respectful. It didn't have people to not bring your passion. So yes, bring your passion and bring your logical brain too. All those things need to come together.
Mhm.
I remember more than a couple of times that I would go in with a mindset and a frame of well, point of view, frankly. And then after a while, it's okay. I flipped. I see the other side better now. I'm ready to
Yes,
change my
yeah,
position. It's like,
it's an
great,
opportunity
move
to
on.
yes, it's an opportunity to understand what other wants and what they propose, and also to find out limits of
Yes.
our perspectives, our solutions, and
Mhm.
maybe we will not be able to find those things by ourselves. Only in discussions we can see our blind spots or
Yes.
limits.
Right. Most likely, because most of us
Mhm.
can't figure out all the problems by ourselves all the time. And even if we think we can, that's that perspective jostles us enough to see something maybe slightly different that we didn't see coming. Like, oh, wait, I have a good answer, but this makes it a little bit better. You don't have to always change entirely. It's just, oh, yeah, a nuance. Great. Moving on.
Yes, and you can combine different ideas and
Yes, for sure.
solutions. Mhm. Besides negotiation, what other skills do you think that a leader should have in order
Mhm.
to be able to lead effectively, but not only in terms of results, but also in terms of relationships with their teammates?
Mhm. I'll start with the easiest one. They have to be able to do their job expectations, whatever that is. You can't fake your way through doing your job. So let's assume this is a reasonably skilled person in leadership position. Beyond that, I think it's roughly two, and it's overused wording, but empathy and humility. So
Hmm.
the empathy is in this case appreciating what other people are going through, and when somebody says they've got a complaint or an issue, unless they're a complaint every other day kind of person, which there's value in that too. It's a different kind of situation. When somebody brings a challenge or a concern, they've thought about it for a little while, and it's been in trouble for a while. So when it comes to the leader's level, assume it's true. I'm not saying believe it and make all the changes. I'm saying assume this is absolutely the way it is. And then with that person or with whoever is the appropriate party, investigate it. What's going on? What do we know? What don't we know? And how do we solve this problem? If we find out it is a one person problem, well, let's address that for that person. If it turns out to be a system problem, nobody else had said, they're just like, well, I thought that's how it was. And we can improve this whole system and be better off. So the empathy for the people who are closest to the action, huge. And just because the leader hasn't experienced it doesn't mean that they're not. They are having their experience. And the humility is kind of to the last bit we were discussing. Um, the leader has to have enough humility to know that they may not know, and they
Mm-hmm.
have information. They may not have all the information, or they may have done the job, but they haven't done the job in this environment. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Another example, they have been a leader for a long time and they've seen it all. So this is not going to be, I know exactly how this is going to go. Maybe you don't. What could you be missing? How could this be different? And just being open to using your experience as a way to make this the most effective outcome versus how to pop off with the answer and then get on with something else.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking these days about how to deal with uncertainty because I think this is a big issue right now, and
Mhm.
leaders are forced in a way to deal with uncertainty. Uh, do you have some advice on how they can do this?
Mhm. Yeah, uncertainty is exhausting. If we look back at the pandemic, um, people like to and tend to operate on a bit of a script. So if you imagine the calendar year, you know about some hot spots. Maybe it's holidays, maybe it's anniversaries of things that have gone wrong, maybe it's fun stuff, but you know your stress is going to go up, even if it's for a good reason. You can anticipate these things, even if you don't know exactly what will happen. You know it's going to get a little bit rough during this period. The pandemic through that all, right? It was just chaos constantly.
Yes.
People got exhausted because of it. So now in the current moment, which is, I mean, we're post pandemic, but we never, I don't know that we, at least in the States, ever really resolved that experience. So the uncertainty is to be expected in terms of we don't get to know all the things all the time and keep it in the context and even construct of what are the things we can influence.
Mm-hmm.
So we could have meetings all day, every day, wringing our hands and pulling our hair, saying, well, gosh, we just don't know. We should know. Yeah, and we're not going to. So, what do we know? What do we know about how we do what we do and how can we proceed, even though we don't know some of these things that are coming? And embrace yourself and your team for inevitable changes that we can't predict. You tell folks, yeah, there's change coming because we've seen it. It's been all over the place. We don't know what it is. Let's stick together. Let's support each other. Let's make sure that we are collectively moving forward because nobody is on our side here. Right? It's just us, not us against the world. But if we don't take care of each other, what are we even doing? So let's support each other through this and make sure we can succeed the best we can. And on the very pragmatic side, if you don't like this kind of uh, unpredictability and you feel another job industry space has that predictability, by all means, take a look because your success is important and let's not keep you from doing something you feel like you should do. If you stay, we will try our best to make sure it's as stable as we can make it, but none of us can affect the outside forces. So a phrase I used with a colleague of mine when she was having a hard time was, "I can hold the umbrella, but I can't keep it from raining." So sometimes things are just too big.
Yes, you're right. Good. Thank you very much, Sam. We are at the end of our discussion. And I thank you for what you shared. I think that team leadership and the skills that this requires are very important. And I think that, yes, companies should pay more attention how they form their team leaders and
Mhm.
how they prepare them to do their roles and jobs,
Right.
especially now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a worthwhile investment on the front versus waiting for a problem to show up.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you very much. I will. I wanted to ask you also, how can people learn more about you, about your business,
Mhm.
and how they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So my business is 360 Clarity is the name of it. It's a professional development business. And the website is 360-clarity.com. I'm on LinkedIn, and it's a little social media I do because that's what I choose. Otherwise, if folks want to contact me, my email is super complex. It's sam@360-clarity.com. So I'm open to your emails, things on my website, LinkedIn requests, whatever it is. I'm happy to chat.
I will put the links in the notes. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you found value in this podcast, subscribe to stay updated. I'm grateful for your support and hope to continue providing content that helps you grow. See you in the next episode.